Welcome to Inspired Living with Keri Murphy, the podcast, where as your host each and every week, I am going to inspire you and empower you to share your message and step into that big vision you see for yourself. I'll be bringing you celebrity interviews, influencer insights, and my personal tips from decades as an on-camera talent, TV host, media expert, and entrepreneur, so you can build a brilliant seven-figure brand. Because when you're inspired, you inspire others. So let's go. Innovation. I think that if you really want to look at how you can show up powerfully in the world, how you can make that difference you know you're here to make, you got to think about how you can do things differently, how you can create a solution for people that is maybe different from how they would get it from somewhere else. And that is why today I am so excited to bring you my best friend for over a decade, Terri Ross. Terri is a world-renowned practice management consultant and international speaker in the medical aesthetics industry. She is the founder of Apex, which is a tech company. So in this interview, we talk about how she went from a very successful Fortune 500 career into consulting, into truly being a pioneer and leader in the aesthetic space. We talk about what it was like to write that $65,000 check to get started on building a $500,000 tech platform. We talk about what it's been like to hire a team, to step into vision, to really make some scary choices because you believe so much in your vision. When I asked her what it was like to be a single mom and how she is dealing with the mom guilt or if she has any, her response to that question is worth listening to this Inspired Living episode on its own. Like, I loved her response so much. So if you're a mom who is looking to grow and build your business, if you are ready to take the leap and really invest in being innovative, hiring team, and really figuring out how to stop trading time for dollars, this interview with Terri Ross is amazing. Get ready. It is super fun. I loved how two best friends can come together and talk about what we talk about every week over a glass of wine. So get ready for this Inspired Living interview with my ride or die, Miss Terri Ross. Terri Ross, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
And I could not be more honored and thrilled. And it is long overdue for us to do this together.
It is long overdue. Not like we don't talk every day or every week. So in case you don't know, Terri Ross is I call her my ride or die, my BFF, and someone who truly inspires me with what she's doing and what she's creating in the world. And what cracks me up is, when you know someone you think so well, and then their team sends over their bio, and I'm reading Terri's bio, and I'm like, damn, let me just read you a line from her bio. It says, Terri spent 15 plus years working for Fortune 500 medical device companies, leading sales teams upwards of $20 million consistently, ranking in the top 10 nationally. Terri, that's impressive.
Well, thank you. And I love it. I know it's so fascinating. You're right. We know everything about each other, but when you get down to the nitty, you're like, oh shit, I didn't know she was a TV host on MTV, right? I didn't know.
Right. Like, wow, she really is cool. And we have talked about having you on the show because you're developing this new technology and these platforms. But Terri, I want to go back to, you did what a lot of people really think about, but never quite take the leap. And that is leaving a very successful corporate background into entrepreneurship. And you and I both know that's not an easy jump. So just give us a little bit more of your background. You're one of the leading consultants in the aesthetic space, but take me back to Terri Ross before she made this leap.
Yeah, thank you so much. God, I am just a small town girl from Detroit, grew up in Michigan, moved here in my 30s, and started my career in aesthetic medicine in 2007, working for Medicis, which is now Galderma, one of the leading Restylane. Everybody knows Restylane.
Yes.
We're all wanting to look and stay young, right?
Yes, and especially if you're over 40.
Don't age me. Don't age me. I launched Cool Sculpting in the US and Canada. But what's crazy is, I was older when I had my daughter. So I was 41 and had to do 2 rounds of fertility, which was a difficult thing to have to go through. And I was traveling 80% of the time. So Keri, your question is so great because I don't know that I chose to go on the path of entrepreneurship. on my own. I felt a little bit forced to. And because we were going through fertility, I really needed to make a hard choice to leave that corporate world where I worked so hard to be really one of the females that could fight in a male dominated industry, to work my way up to that corporate ladder to a VP level, and made a decision with my husband at the time, I'm divorced, but to leave and really focus on having a baby.
Yeah, I think a lot of women get to that place in their life where they feel kind of forced to make that decision. Like you work so hard to reach a certain level in corporate, and then you decide to have a family. And sadly, we're in a culture where you feel like you have to make a choice. Now, hopefully things are getting better and there's more equity and they give women more space, which I'm seeing a lot more of. But looking back at that time, Terri, where you had to make that decision, did you stop working completely at the time you had Sloan? So both of us had children.
Yeah.
At 40, 41. Or were you just automatically went into consultant mode after that? Like, give us a little bit of like the transition.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women find themselves there.
Well, gosh, I feel like, it's being in aesthetics, it's a very small space. So I really did carve out a niche for myself. I had managed the West Coast for many years. And you can imagine being in Beverly Hills in Los Angeles where we live. It's it's a mecca of beauty.
Right.
And yes. I really started getting phone calls. And I can say this, everybody must know Paul Nassif, right? He was on Botched and he's on The Housewives. And, he was one of my first clients. Garth Fisher, some really world-renowned plastic surgeons started calling me. This is back in 2013. And saying, hey, can you help me with my practice? Like, oh my God, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I mean, I did.
And she says, yes. Yes, I can.
But that whole Shonda Rhimes, like, just say yes. And I said yes, because I've never turned down an opportunity. And I was like, I am resourceful and I knew the industry and I will find a way. And I also looked at it as an opportunity to learn what happens internally inside of a practice. And so that's really how the evolution of Terri Ross Consulting started, almost jumped by a couple phone calls that led to me going on this path to start this company.
Terri, there's a statistic that says that men will apply, and I'm going to botch the statistic, but it's something similar to, men will read a job position, and if they qualify, like for 20% of it, they apply, where women feel like they have to have at least 80 to 90% of the qualifications before they apply. Just different like mindset, right? Like men are more inapt to be like, I'll figure it out. I'm going to say yes, and I'm good enough. Where women, especially in a male dominated space like you've been in, Terri, like they always second guess themselves. But you said yes, even when you weren't 1,000% confident at the time.
I did. And yes, absolutely 100%. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made because I got to pave the way. And I think I really got to use the business acumen skills. I did lead teams. So I was in that sales capacity for 20 plus years. I led teams. I managed teams. I proved that I could succeed in that market. And I thought, how do I just take those skill sets and move them now into a practice and figure out how do I make practices more efficient and more profitable, and then bring a team together where they're really right now, there's no MBA school to run aesthetics. There's no place to go to learn how to run a practice. And so it's such a huge gap in the market that it really has helped me evolve with my company and what I can offer and how I can make more of an impact.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, Terri, how serendipitous, because also, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't know the aesthetic space that well, but aren't like the med spa concept what you really specialize in right now? Hasn't that grown a lot? Like it's kind of a newer concept, isn't it?
Huge. Well, it's funny, Keri, that's such a great question because I basically worked for Garth Fisher for a year inside of his practice as his consultant, but as his director of aesthetics to build the med spa. And I remember sitting in a tiny room in Century City with something called American Medical Spa, which is really the hub. They're based in Chicago that provides all the legal and compliance for people that want to start a medical spa. It's not that simple. It's a tough business to get in. But back at that time, that was when medical spas were really just starting to blossom, and where practices that were like plastic surgeons or derms were saying, hey, how do I make more money? And, add a med spa to my practice. So,
Yeah. So for those of you who own a business, you're looking to start up a business, you would hire a business consultant, right? To help you grow. You'd hire a business coach. You would do all of those things. And Terri is a renowned consultant in the aesthetic space. And she's built that over the years. Terri Ross Consulting has grown so much. I'm so proud of you, Terri, for what you've done and taking the risks that you have. And you've taken some really big risks in the last year. But let's talk about like where you are today. What does Terri Ross Consulting look like today versus where you were? And if you could, for those women that are in a place where they're looking to grow their business, what are some of the lessons that you've learned that you want to share with other women looking to grow their brand?
Thank you, Keri, so much. Well, look, I really would not be here. I mean, I have many people to thank for where I am today, but you are one of them. I admire you. I respect you both as a female entrepreneur, as a mother, as my best friend, and what you've done with your company and how you've grown and the risks that you've taken. And, the many nights we've had glasses of wine.
I was just going to say the wine conversations that we have had.
Or I'm boo-hooing on your shoulder thinking I can't do it. And we're always talking about mindset. Yeah. And I would say that I'm sure COVID, like most people, got hit really hard in whatever capacity, in whatever job, in whatever specialty, whatever you do for a living, right? Or something that you might be.
We were all impacted. It doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And as a consultant, and I'm sure, Keri, you probably faced something similar as well, because you've definitely evolved and grown with what you're doing with your launches and stuff. So again, congratulations to you. But, I speak across the country. And when the conferences were shut down, I really was at a crossroads where I'm sure these were one of the nights I'm at your house and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah. I mean, were you just freaking out? Because that's how you got your clients, was speaking at all these conferences.
100%. I was freaking out, and I'm divorced now. I'm a single mom. Our kids are very much the same age.
Best of friends. Together. Yes.
And my daughter's 7. And I had just recently brought on a new consultant. And I was like, oh my God, now how am I going to take care of, right? My company, my team, my family.
Yeah.
And ironically, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that is something that people don't really think about, is the responsibility we feel once you start hiring team, right? It's totally different, because here's the thing, you can't grow without it. Right. But once you hire team, you now have even more responsibility, but you can't grow without it. Right. So we talk about this all the time. It's that catch-22 where you can't grow and scale where you want to go without them. But then you're like, oh my gosh, we have this nut now that we have to cover that we didn't have before.
Right. But kind of back to your question, lessons learned, or for anybody, again, feeling stuck or feeling like you can't do it or you don't know how to do it. I took the biggest risks of my life in the middle of COVID. I realized that I am more of a B2B type of a company, right? My clients are medical spas, they're practitioners, they're doctors, they're surgeons. And COVID, I think, made more practices realize that they did not know how to run their practice, right? They're great providers, and they were losing a lot of money. They were shut down for many months. And so our consulting business ended up elevating significantly because practices needed help with how to be more efficient, how to make more money. We were able to do that. What it also forced me to realize is that I was trading time for dollars. And I genuinely see the same problems over and over and over again with practices. And again, it's back to what is the gap in the market? And the gap in the market is that there is no MBA school. Like I said, there's no training course. You go to a conference, you bring a binder back and you're like, okay, cool. How am I going to implement this? Or what am I going to do? And I was very fortunate to meet a guy who became a dear friend of mine, and about a year and a half ago, who was an investor in SaaS companies, which is software as a service. And he said, Terri, I really think that you have something here. The aesthetic market is fragmented and it is really lacking education. And so how do I take what I do as a consultant and put it into an online platform, not just courses, right? But a technology. Right. How do I do what I do and put it in a platform so people have best practices and resources? And so, what you asked again in the beginning is, it's risk versus reward. And I know it's such a cliche, but sometimes when you believe in something so much, when you're so passionate about making such an impact and touching more lives, you just have to do it. And I did it.
Yes, you did. And I will say,
again, thank you for all those nights. I was freaking out and terrified that I wasn't sure it was going to work. And it's been the greatest blessing that I could have ever done.
I really have chills right now. And I know you're still freaking out, let's be honest, but
Yeah.
like you're building, like talk about innovation. And I think that's one of the things that as a business owner right now, regardless of your space, you have to be willing and looking to adapt and innovate. And that is something that in your space, by the way, gap analysis, the thing that you do for your clients is the same thing I do for mine, the same
Right.
thing someone else does, right? So it's understanding the gap and how you fill that for them. And you have created this technology platform that your clients have, this dashboard where they can get access to all of the tools that you've built over the years and that you've been kind of like doing for your consultants that now you've streamlined so you can help hundreds and thousands of,
Yes.
practices instead of one at a time. What was that like for you? Like, you don't have a technology background. You haven't built apps before. Like, this is completely foreign. And I know that Mike has been amazing for you, but let's talk about the steps of trust, I guess, and where you are right now with building that out. Because I do think, even with Inspired Living and other companies, I think looking at technology, at how you serve your clients is really important. And I think more and more companies are going to go to tech and look at ways, apps, all the different things, the platforms that we can build out, and not just online courses, So I want to hear about the evolution of Apex. And again, you went from working in corporate to starting kind of your B2B consulting, which is what a lot of people do, right? I'm going to take my expertise, I'm going to go start consulting. And now, Terri, you're going into like influencer expansion, like creating something that's never been out in the marketplace in a time where most people are not investing, right? You're doubling down, like you're putting it all, you're putting the chips all in, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Thanks. Well, listen, I have to say, like, I am nothing without my team. I'm sure we all think that. I would not be here without them. So I really have to, thank Robbie and Mitch and Keri and Jen and Tim and every Mike and everybody.
It takes a village. It really does.
And doing this. But gosh, the evolution is, and I find it funny that you say that, because I remember when we had this dialogue, Mike's like, this is what I think you should do. This is how it's going to get started. I really do not think that I fundamentally understood. I don't even know if I still do, that I actually have a technology.
Did he tell you how much it was going to cost at that time?
No. But he did say, okay, listen, I need to check for like $65,000. And I about wanted to fall out of my seat. And I thought, oh my God, I'm like, okay. I don't even think I knew what it was going to get me or do at the time. You don't understand. You don't know everything behind code and platform and support. And I won't even do it justice. But needless to say, and then it was like, hey, we need another 30 and we need another 25 and then another this and another.
It's like building a house. Like you're told one thing and then they're like, oh, sorry, that's actually, we need this. Yeah. We need more over here. Yeah.
But $500,000 later, buckled down to the grind in the middle of COVID, right? Me and my team wrote a financial course, again, for practices on how they can, again, be profitable, be successful, their P&L, their software, their marketing, all the things. We worked with company to get competitive analysis. We have marketing dashboard analytics, and we just grinded. We backed into everything the industry doesn't offer, what software currently can't do, where they need help. We compiled all of the challenges and all the pain points, and we built APEX, which stands for Aesthetic Practice Accelerator. And it really is business intelligence. It's basically having me and my team with you all the time, where we offer community and support. It's not just another piece of software you buy, right? We're offering, coaching every single Tuesday to make sure we hold your hand, whether it's something about your practice or within the platform. But the platform is really based on these 5 core components where we've proven the model. I've owned a medical spa in Beverly Hills myself. I've done it myself. We've done it now for 13 years. We've proven the systems. We've proven the model. And so now Apex launched mid-February. We are raising a seed round. We have a couple investors. We're in version 2 of the iteration with our developers. And the feedback so far has been phenomenal. I mean, people are like, Terri, we wish we would have had this 13 years ago. I went back 2 years. I know my numbers. So I just, again, I do this solely for the reward of getting that feedback, getting that affirmation, and more importantly, being able to help so many people across the country that I would never be able to touch before.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And what I love so much is that as things are opening up and, the conferences are opening back up again, it's almost like that preparation opportunity. Like you've built out this whole platform now. So when you do go and speak, you can leverage and reach so many more people and provide this resource and tool for them that you didn't have before. But I want to go back because you dropped down like, he asked me to write a check for 65,000 and marry on my way $500,000 later.
Right.
I want to know for that person right now that is looking at making a significant investment in themselves, in their business, what was it that made you write that check? Was it like, did you do like an inner knowing check-in? Was it the vision? Was it the big why for you?
Yeah.
Because whether you have that money or not, like that's a lot to invest in something that's rather unknown and new, as you said it is. So I just want to know, like, where were you? Like, what was the impetus to being like, I'm doing this?
I think a couple things. And Keri, thank you for asking that question, because look, you're in the business of helping people that have to invest. And I don't even say there's no cost, guys listening. Anybody, there's no cost. It's an investment in yourself, in your future, in your company, in your family, in your freedom. Like it's an investment. And I think that, look, it was the scariest place. I wasn't traveling. I didn't know how I was going to get clients. I'm in the middle of COVID when everything shut down. And I literally had, the whole, that book, right? The Path of Least Resistance. I had two ways to go, like right or left. And all I knew in my gut, like in my soul, that would pain me, but in the happiest way, that I knew I had helped so many people, that me and my team have helped so many people grow exponentially, that I thought, if this is my last rodeo, if this is my last hurrah, you know what? I am not going to do the definition of insanity. I am going to take a leap of faith and I am going to go all in, balls to the wall, because I would rather trust in myself that I have something to offer and just do it. And doing it, I mean, yes, of course I was scared to death, but it has been the biggest blessing of my life. And so I guess I would say for anybody on the fence of, I can't, I won't, I shouldn't, I don't have enough money. If you believe in something, if you have something to offer, if you are that passionate about something and you're able to reach people and touch people, please take the leap of faith. And if you're scared to do it, it is an investment in working with experts. That's why we do what we do, to help people and, have people not be afraid.
Yeah. And it is, to believe in yourself and your vision. And as an entrepreneur, so many of us stay in that consultant vein or this trading, as we say, time for dollars. And no matter where you are in your business, you're always trading time for dollars. It's just, you have to look at what your time is worth and what dollars you're making. And you were in a place where you were taking on so many one-to-one clients that it was like, I'm going to break. Like I can only serve so many people. And so it's like, how do I duplicate myself, my team? And this is what I want business owners to think about. Like you want to scale and grow to 7 figures and beyond. You want to be seen, be known, be paid. Well, how do you do that in a way that isn't going to, completely deplete you? Right. And so you feel like you can make that impact. So I find that so inspiring, because you don't have a tech background, you're a single mom, you're in the middle of COVID where, let's just face it, like people weren't hiring you at the rate they were before. Right. Mm-hmm. And you went all in on a new platform to serve your clients. And now let's talk about I know you're just getting back out into the conferences, but since you've developed this, Terri, and I know this wasn't the why you did, but it's a byproduct of how you are standing out even more in your space and how you're being sought out. Because here's what I think is important. Is that when you stand for something, when you're willing to be innovative, when you're willing to be you, and I love it. You're like balls to the wall, ovaries to the wall. Like you are who you are. You show up as you are. You don't pretend to be anything. You've gotten really great on camera, if I may say so myself.
Thank you. I think I had a coach. I don't know. Her name's Keri Murphy. Right?
Yeah, she's a good one. I highly recommend.
I heard she's great.
Yeah. But Terri, to look at what you've created really in a short amount of time, and you've always been known and respected in your industry, but let's talk about now. Like, how has this innovation helped you stand out as really the leader now in the aesthetic space?
Thank you, Keri. I think that Apex now is something tangible, right? It's not a dream. It's not a vision. It's not an idea. It's not advice without execution. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I did not want it to be just something you buy and adios. I don't believe in that. Right. Which is exactly why, we're there every Tuesday showing up for our clients that are on these calls. And I think that what it has allowed me to do is people now internationally reaching out. I just gave a talk, right, in London in the British Plastic Surgery Society. And I think people can't ignore what happened, right? If you don't have cash reserves, regardless of whatever business you're in, we have to be smart with whatever we're doing in our lives, with our money, with cash reserves, making sure we have that money in the bank, understanding our finances, understanding what we can afford. And it's elevated me to a level of where I can prove and I can do and I can show and I can serve these practices to allow them to understand what it requires to, again, in whatever capacity, whether you're a front desk girl, you're a nurse, you're an NP, you're a doctor, you're a provider. How do I help you in sales, right? When this is a cash-based medicine business and people have choices and it's highly competitive. Why do I choose you, this doctor versus this doctor? Look, Botox is on every Tom, Dick, and Harry corner, right?
Right.
Why should one person go to one practice? And you have to be able to stand out. And what is your value proposition? And so it's allowed me to take everything that I've done and put it in something where people have access to it every day, all the time, 24/7. And then when they're stuck, have access to us. And so, yeah,
that's just, it's so amazing. And I think it's important for everyone to hear right now, based upon where you're at, that, you want to become that go-to expert. You want to become that, top of the mountain in your industry, but you do that through serving more people, and you have found a way to do that. And it's just amazing to me, the conversations you're having and people reaching out to you about this and the partnerships and come speak here and we want you over here. It's like, don't do anything for fame itself, do it because you're developing something for someone else. And
right.
I think the accolades and the opportunities will come from that.
I totally agree. And I think you have always said this to me. And look, here's what I will say. I think that, COVID has also forced us now to be able to be, like you said, innovative, but do things differently, right? We have access to Zoom. There's no reason and there's no excuse for anybody to say, I don't know, I can't, I won't, because the resources and the training and the tools, we all have access. And I always say it, if we're not learning, we're not growing. And I'm constantly look, I talk to you, pushing myself. I have coaches. I go to people because I don't know it all, but I do want to be the best I can in what I do. And I think that's what we all have to realize, that, get out of your comfort zone, right? If we're not getting uncomfortable, we're not maximizing our opportunity within ourselves.
So true. And speaking of uncomfortable, I think it was 6 months or so ago, you and I had one of those wine conversations where you were growing and building and you had a lot of contractors, and you and I were talking about it was time to hire employees, more team.
Yes.
And I remember this conversation. We had it for quite some time. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know someone's listening right now or watching that is in the exact same place where they are scared to death to hire someone to help them. Can you talk to us about that decision and how you feel about it right now?
Absolutely. You're right. I know that we had many conversations about that. I think a scary thing is that when you're on that tipping point of growth, and you said it in the beginning of this podcast, that team will only elevate you to be able to do more, be more, show up more, have more opportunity.
Get paid more.
Right. Get paid more to do my zone of genius, right? I can't do everything for everybody all the time. And I always say this, that I wouldn't want 10 of me's on my team, right? I learn from everybody on my team because we can
only handle one Terri Ross.
Yes. We can. That is so true. But no, I will say hiring has been the greatest blessing, the greatest decision I truly could have ever made, right? So where I was afraid, we talked about this the other day, you can't be grateful and fearful at the same time, right? They're counterproductive. And so.
Okay, wait. Say that one more time for someone who needs that today.
You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
And I found myself being in that position many, many, many times, and worried about money and, oh my gosh, and how am I going to do this? And is it going to come? And I will say that, I'll write my 3 things I'm grateful for every night. I'll call you up on the phone. And I look back and I'm like, well, wait a minute, Terri, if I just invested this significant amount of money to build this tech platform last year, when there really wasn't an abundance of money, right? Because of something that I believed in to my core, to my soul. Mm-hmm. And that it's the same thing. And hiring team has only allowed me to continue to grow. And so anybody on that tipping point or worried, team is only going to support you and help you. But look, it's got to be the right team, the right person.
Right. For sure. And just to know that the fear is there as you grow, but you have to make those decisions to say, you know what, if I bring in this person, and you're dealing with that now too, bringing on someone else and looking at that salary and be like, God, yes, it is a lot of money, but what is that going to allow you to do? And we just talked about investment versus cost. And I just think it's an important conversation, because I know so many solopreneurs that, gosh, if they just hired support, they would blow up, but they're just too scared to do so. So thank you for sharing that, Terri. I want to talk about something that I know a lot of people also struggle with, and that is being a parent and growing a business. Something you and I both very much understand. And, I was a single mom for 3 years. You're a single mom now. We're both working very hard on growing our companies. What do you do? How do you do? Do you suffer from the mom guilt? How do you balance your time? Do you give us some insight, or is it just wine?
No, well, God, I mean, wine sometimes at 2:00 definitely works, but I would say that I don't know that I am. Look, I'll speak for me, and I need to be better at this because we talk about this. I am not the greatest person at balance in my life. I think that, growing up, my parents were hairdressers. I never really had the push from my parents to just go after it. Right. Yeah. It's always been this self-desire for me to make something better of myself than what I had. And I'm just a ride or die when it comes to work, almost, to a fault. But what I love is that my daughter, and again, our kids grew up together, Sloan and Lauren, she sees me working every day, and she's on my podcast and she's on my videos, and she talks about Apex, and she sees that women, we can do anything. We can do anything we put our minds to. And I want to show her what an example is, that you can have both, and you work really hard to get what you want, and to give her a life that I didn't have, to give her a better life. I do need to work, again, a little bit harder on shutting it down and finding time for the balance, but I'm more proud of her being proud of me.
I kind of want to cry after that is just, I love that response so much. I wasn't expecting that. And I love how honest you are about it, Terri. And that, we all have our struggles, especially when you're in this massive expansion and growth. And the fact that you can say, I am proud that my daughter is proud, that our children are going to emulate what they see, and what they see is what they believe for themselves. And look at the role model you are for Sloan, that you are showing her, and she's showing up. And obviously she has just the most beautiful spirit. We love her so much. And what you're showing her that she can do, be, and have is something that you don't need to be ashamed of, And I think that as moms, we feel so guilty about not being able to do and be all the things, right. But you're being exactly the thing that she's going to need to step into her greatest possibility as she gets older too.
No, I love that. And for you as well, right? I mean, I think that it's such a blessing that our kids have each other, that we have each other, but they really can see that it's all possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard. And I think that that's something where, social media, society, it's like every day is just rainbows and lollipops and I'm out on my yacht and everything's wonderful. And I love our transparent conversations. Mm-hmm. And I hope someone who's listening or watching right now really sees that these are just two women that are passionate about what they do, that are giving it their all, to serve others. And yet there are many breakdowns along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's why you need best friends to help pick you up,
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Well, what about you though, Keri? I mean, too, I want to talk a little bit about you because, right, you have...
Are we flipping the switch?
The switch for a minute. No, because I mean, again, so grateful to just have you in my life, and with everything that you really, truly, I look at what you've done, and my friends will be like, why do you compare yourself to Keri Murphy? I'm like, well, I don't. And I'm like, but look at, why would I reinvent the wheel, right? Why don't I just take the things that she's done well? And so where are things with you? Because I know you have so many things going on, brilliance coming up. Yeah. And, I know you just have this fan following, but what's going on the horizon for you?
Well, it's interesting, Terri, because we just hit kind of the 10-year mark with Inspired Living. And I mean, I'm honestly at a place right now where I'm pulling back everything and reassessing and looking at, am I in my joy? Am I really doing my zone of genius work? Am I making the level of contribution I want to have in the world? And we did, like 2020 was the best year we ever had. We're a 7-figure company, but I'm like, and it's not about the money to me. It never has been about the money. It's always been about the reach. And so I'm looking right now at our model and my team, and I don't know. I just feel like my head's going to explode today because, when you like, we hired a consultant company and they're amazing. But again, it's so important to get that outward perspective. It's like the quote I always say, you can't see the frame when you're in the picture. And I'm really proud of the picture. I'm really proud of Inspired Living and the team and what we've built and the people we serve. And yet I'm feeling like we're just getting started, like, oh my gosh, there's so much more that we could do and be in the world. And I think that that's just part of being an entrepreneur. Like you get to one level, one area of like what you think is success. And then you realize, is this what I thought it was going to be? Is this doing the thing that I know that we can do? And it refines, like I get clearer and clearer year by year, day by day. And so I'm looking at like getting rid of stuff, like throwing stuff away, stuff that has been like our signature thing, and really looking at how do I scale it? How do I reach more people? How do I help more people share their brilliance, be seen, be known, and get paid? Like, how do I do that? And so that's where I am. And I will tell you, it's like, I feel like it's like that churning, like there might be smoke coming out of my head because it's just.
Well, and I want to repeat back sort of something that you just said, as you've done for me throughout this interview. And thank you so much, is that, people might look at you on the outside, right, and see this picturesque, everything's just beautiful and pretty. And like you said, rainbows and sunshine and your pretty yellow shirt, and it's all easy breezy. But you just also said you invested in working with these people for a couple of days. And I just think it's, again, so important when we're talking about listeners on the fence of where do I go and what to do. And you're in this pivotal point of making a huge shift as well. But again, not being afraid to say, shit, I'm stuck. Or I'm at this place and I need to pivot. Where do I go and what do I do? And instead of you just, making, frivolous mistakes or wasting time, you're like, I'm going to go seek out somebody. But I think I think you have to be coachable and you have to be adaptable. I think that those two things, like I am not defined by how we do things. I'm defined by the vision that we carry and the vision that we hold, right? Mm-hmm. So if there's a way to bring that vision to life in an easier way, or we can reach more people, or we can scale to a greater capacity, or I could use my team better or myself better, all of those things. And I think sometimes, Terri, as you're growing a business, you start adding in things that aren't always the best. What I mean by this, hang on, is we go wide instead of going deep, right? Yeah. It's like, I'm just going to keep adding programs and people and things. Oh my. And then before you know it, like, and this is kind of where we've gotten ourselves to, is that we're trying to be and do all the things instead of like really being in our zone of genius, being looked. If you want to be visible and known and paid for your brilliance in the world, you work with Inspired Living. If you want to go do something else, you want to go build out an online course or whatever it is, like you need to go work with someone else, right? Mm-hmm. But you get to this place, or at least I will speak for myself, where I'm like, well, I'll help you do that. I'll help you do that. Sure. You want to do that? Absolutely. We can do that for you. But what that does is that actually waters down the work that you're most like here to do. And so that's where I'm at, honestly. Like we keep adding, and I'm actually looking at refining and getting rid of stuff and elevating. So it's exciting. Yeah. And I think no matter where you're at in your business, we all have to take time to reassess and really ask ourselves, what's my big why, right? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Who do I serve? How do I want to be known? How do I want to be paid? These are really great questions to ask yourself. And then, am I doing the things that line up with that? And good times. I'm so happy for you though, right? I mean, you've done so well, you're so successful, but just more best good things to come.
You know what I will say though? I was on a call earlier today with some of our community, some of our clients, and I love them so much, Terri. And I know you feel this when you're working with yours, like the joy I get from seeing other people succeed and make decisions to be visible and conquer their fear of being on camera. Like it brings me so much joy. And that's when you know that you're doing what you're meant to do. When I'm on a call with a group of people and I am so invigorated and so inspired and so excited for them, that's what makes me happy. Not always the minutia, the business stuff, but you have to do that too.
100%. But I think it's back down to what we said. And some of it seems so elementary, but it's not. When you love what you do, when you're passionate about it, and you're impacting lives and making a difference, at the end of the day, the rest will work itself out.
It does. And you have to believe that to be true, because if you focus on all the things that can go wrong, you will never figure out what can go right. And I just want to say that one more time. When you focus on all the things that can go wrong, you will never step into and figure out what is right. And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they're like, oh, but if I do this, what if this happens? Or what if I hire someone and they don't work out? Or what if I make this investment and I don't do the thing? And it's like, make it, believe in it, do the work, and, expect great things to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah. But what's interesting too, that you just said that, because we run across people, and I don't know if the medical industry is just a different beast versus just a normal consumer, but a lot of it is, and maybe tell me if you hear this, I don't know if I'll have the time, right? It seems too hard to do, but yet what they want is, right? I want to be more efficient. I want to make more money. I want to be more profitable. Okay, great. Well, then what are you willing to do, right? Yeah. Are you willing to put in that time, right? Are you willing to cross the bridge to get there faster? Do you face that with your clients? Do you find that happens?
Sure. Yeah. I think not with our clients, but within the community, it's like, I want to be known as the go-to expert. I want to be the celebrity in my industry. I want to be a speaker. I want to change so many lives, but they don't invest in, the tools to be authentic and visible and team and leverage and all the things. And so it's like, it can be frustrating. I know it can be for you too, because you want for them what they want, but unless you're willing to let's just be honest, owning a business, especially the first 3 to 5 years, is probably one of the toughest things to do. And even though it gets easier in some ways, you grow and expand in others, so yes, I see that. And by the way, that's why most people have jobs that they don't like. Yep, they don't make the money they deserve. They're not happy.
Yes, absolutely. So, absolutely.
Yeah. Terri Ross. So tell me, what does inspired living mean to you?
Oh, I love that question. I think inspired living to me means being your unapologetically self. It means living without fear. It means taking risks. It means showing up, being authentic, and, just being the best version of yourself. And I know people say that all the time, but it really is, looking at all the wealth, and I don't mean money wealth, right? Abundance, health, family, friends, and really taking advantage of that. I think that's what inspired living means to me. And I think when you really embrace that philosophy, and like you always say, have the mindset and live it, eat it, and breathe it, and all of the things that your company is about and that what you're about, you're a happier person. I think, you show up differently in the world. And that's really what you have done for me for so many years. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, I love you so much, Terri. It's funny, listening to your response to that question is truly who you are. You are unapologetic. You are a risk taker. You are brave. You are beautiful. You are brazen. You are all the things, in a good way. You stand up for what you believe, and you help other people do the same. And to me, that's inspired living. When you stand for something and you're inspired and you help someone else step into that, I think that really is what inspiration can do for other people. And you are inspiration to me. I love you so much. I am so proud of who you are and what you're creating in the world. If people want to learn more about you, Terri, I know you have your own podcast as well, which is amazing. Tell us how we find you.
Which you'll be on in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned. My email is Terri, Terri, at terriross.com, or you can check out Apex Platform, apxplatform.com. I would love to hear from you. And again, just be womanly, just be friends, just be community for anything. Thank you, Keri, so much for having me. I love you so much. Thank you for being in my life, for allowing me to show up on this podcast. And hopefully it resonated with others listening out there as well.
Yes. Thank you, Terri. In fact, I want to know if this resonated with you. So please do me a big favor. We want to hear from you. We want to know what impact, any ahas, any breakthroughs. So please come find us on social, come DM me on Instagram. Let me know your takeaways from this. And it would mean so much if you would leave a review for this podcast, because the more people that leave reviews, the more people we can inspire and get this out to people who need it. So thank you so much, Terri. I love you. And I know I will see you soon.
Of course you will. Bye, honey. Thank you.
Bye. You've just heard another uplifting episode of Inspired Living with Keri Murphy, the podcast. I hope you loved it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you'd like to know more about Inspired Living or to get your hands on many of our awesome free resources, such as the Be Studio Ready Guide, simply visit us at inspiredliving.tv/podcast. Remember, your vision is your destiny, and we're here to help you bring it to life. Join me again next week for another extraordinary episode.